So let me quickly go through several examples of some of the programs that we have available. So in this scenario here, we know that we're missing a leg of a right triangle. So in a question like this, I can go ahead and input the leg and hypotenuse and get my missing leg is root 24. None of the options actually say root 24, but in my program Radical, I can take that 24 and it turns it into 2 root 6, making the correct answer A. Or in this question, they want the area of a sector. Well, I can just go to my program sector, type in the radius, the degrees of the central angle, and I get the area of the sector is 343 over 9 pi, making the correct answer A. Here, they're saying the center is at -6,1, and then there's a point 712 on the circle. Well, if they want the radius, that's really just the distance between the 2 points. So in my program distance, I would just type in the ordered pairs, and I get the distance, and rounded to the nearest integer would be 17. To be able to understand this question, we really need to understand what's the equation of a circle. In my program circles, we see the standard equation here, and the key characteristics are the center and the radius. Well, if I have the endpoints, to get the center, I need to find the midpoint. And in my program midpoint, I would just type in the 2 ordered pairs and find that the midpoint is 1, 3. I would know from my circles program that from the center, I need to take the opposite of both the x and y coordinates when putting it into the equation, making it a -1 as well as a -3, eliminating a and b. And then now I know that on the right side is the radius squared. And since I now have the actual coordinates of the center, if I want to get the radius, I really just need to find the distance between the center and either of the 2 endpoints that they gave me, again, using distance to do so. And I get that the distance, which is the radius, is root 25. So if I want the radius squared, I square both sides and I get 25, making the correct answer D. Here we need to do what's called completing the square, and this is specifically a quadratic function. So I'm going to type in those coefficients, and I see that 2 goes for A. My H value, which I take the opposite of, is -1, so I put +1. And then my K value, I keep it as is, so it's +1, making the correct answer A. Now in this question, we're going to complete the square again, but it's for a circle. Now the nice thing about these programs is I always put at the top the specific format that the equation needs to be in. And so we just need to rearrange these terms to get it to be in that format, which includes moving that 3 to the other side of the equal sign so everything's equal to 0. And then now I'll just type everything in, and they specifically want the center. Well, the center is my HK, so -3, 2, making the correct answer B. Here I have a linear equation, which means x is to the first power. And so I could just go ahead and type in the left side into my program solver, as well as the right side, and I get my answer is 4. In this case, I have a system of equations, so I'm going to use solve systems, type in the coefficients of the top equation, as well as the coefficients of the bottom equation, and I get my ordered pair is 7, 2, making the answer C. In this quadratic function, I want to go ahead and just factor it because it's an expression. So we'll type in the coefficients, and we get our factored form, but they want the product of A and B, which are 7 and 6, the product of which is 42. For this quadratic function, instead of it being an expression, it's actually an equation that we're going to solve using a quad solver, typing in the coefficients and giving us our 2 answers, making the correct answer B. Here we have a linear inequality. So we're going to go ahead and type in everything we see just as is, going to math y equals, going to second math to get to the inequality symbols. So we'll go down to option 4, type in the rest of it, and we get our answer is x is less than or equal to -7/18, making the correct answer A. And you'll notice that this program automatically knows when to flip the inequality symbol, which really occurs when you multiply or divide by a negative, but it does that for you to avoid a silly mistake. And then in this final question, they want us to go from degrees to radians, and we have a program that can either go from radians to degrees or degrees to radians. In this case, I would choose degrees to radians, type in 135, and we find out that the coefficient of pi is going to be 3/4.